The conversation around artificial sweeteners is complicated. When we look at added sugars, artificial sweeteners, plant-based natural sweeteners, there's a lot behind each of these, especially around the drawbacks of each of these. And ultimately, as we talk about the science behind this, it's all about arming ourselves with the information. It's not about saying these things are bad. It's not saying that certain things are inherently make a product good either. It's about informing ourselves, arming ourselves with the information so that when we are making the choice, we're making the best choice possible that we can do for our bodies. We also want to be extremely clear that regardless of that choice, there's no judgment.
YEA Networks.
A quick note before we dive into today's podcast. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to subscribe to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, wherever you download your podcast. It would also be incredible if you take a minute to rate and review this podcast. Those things do matter and they really help us. I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. In this week's episode of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, we are talking about sweeteners, and that might seem like a really kind of a mundane topic. It seems like something kind of just like an easy peasy topic. We're breaking it down though, and we're looking at what's beneath that. Well, it's something that it's fun. It's what goes into our desserts, what goes into our drinks, our yogurt, whatever it is. There's a lot underneath that, though, that is not so good. And we're going to be looking at, I sound like it's the darker side. And it is. It's the darker side of added sugars. We've talked about that before on this podcast, but I really want to get into why it can be so beneficial to really limit our added sugars. We'll talk about the influence of added sugars as it relates to some of the normal things that we would think about, sugar cravings, energy highs and lows, blood sugar issues, obesity, also cancer and sugar and its role that it could potentially play in the development of really serious conditions, including cancer. Artificial sweeteners, the pink, the blue, the yellow, are often turned to as a solution. Okay, I really want to reduce my added sugar. Let me have this diet soft drink or artificially sweetened yogurt, fill in the blank instead. Those come with other drawbacks that we'll be talking about. What's the science say behind these? And then plant-based sweeteners, we'll be looking at these as well. So some of the things we're going to be breaking down in here, I'll be giving y'all a rundown. And we've covered some of these topics in other podcasts. So I'm going to be linking to these and also kind of giving you a summary of these, kind of nutshelling some of it to kind of pull it all together in this hub of this episode. But we'll be looking at that snapshot of sugar and its relationship to cancer, the keto diet, and the potential benefit for that in certain types of cancer. We'll be looking at sugar and the sugar industry cover-up that the Journal of the American Medical Association talked about. The cover-up was from decades ago. The article was in the recent years, and it's just fascinating. And it kind of gives us that inside look at just how much money is in a lot of these industries and how much of it are we hearing and how much of it are we learning as far as really what some of the drawbacks are. And then we'll be talking about some of the recent studies that have been done on artificial sweeteners and specifically the